Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley, and I'm joined by my associate Samuel Cockings.
Hello.
Today we will be looking at the Romulan Bird of Prey from the original series episode Balance of Terror.
Yes.
This ship, however, is also known as the Romulan Warbird, so let's begin, shall we?
Like I say, it was the Romulan Bird of Prey, and that was because you've got it there, haven't you? Because the very distinctive hull markings, and we don't see those again pretty much in the series. Very distinctive, and it was in, like I said, in Balance of Terror, and also later on, in terms of viewing time, we saw it we saw a pre-version in Enterprise in the episode Minefield.
The prototype, seen in 2266, remained in service till 2305, peaking around 2274 with about 250 in service. In Star Trek Online, the Romulans still use a similar design in 2409.
That's a lot later.
It is.
Did you ever use one in Star Trek Online, or?
Yes, I did. My brother loves using it. He uses it all the time.
Cool. So this version of the ship is 68 meters long, which is about 3 runabouts. So not big, but definitely big enough for a spaceship.
It has 5 decks.
And it's a crew between 150 and 170.
The original Balance of Terror one only had an experimental heavy plasma torpedo launcher.
And this weapon was quite interesting because you could limit or maximize the amount of plasma going to the weapon and therefore do damage between a starbase or just an individual engagement. So very flexible.
The only way to survive a plasma torpedo generally unharmed is to use direct fire energy weapons such as phasers or disruptors to dissipate the plasma strength. Photon torpedoes won't affect them.
Yeah, and that was seen in Starfleet Command 1,
Yep.
I think. Yeah,
Yep,
and that
and
was always
Volume 2, yeah.
that was a fun tactic, seeing those big red fireballs and then shooting them out with phasers.
Yeah. The other option, of course, with plasma is to outrun them because they have limited range and the plasma dissipates over distance. So.
And that was actually in the show, wasn't it? So that's 100% canon.
Yeah.
And the one we saw in Balance of Terror, actually, although you might not think it, actually had strong shields to survive missions, but an extra strong hull plating while cloaked.
Yeah, the reason for that is the cloaking system took up a lot of power, so they would have to lower shields while cloaked. So they enhanced it to make it a tough little ship by adding excessive armor plating on the back.
Tough little ship, as tough as a Defiant, or?
Probably a little tougher.
So the one we saw in Balance of Terror was a sublight vessel only. There was a bit of discussion on what it is, but canonically it's sublight. So we think that it was dropped off by a larger vessel, perhaps a bigger Warbird, and that's how it was in the part of the mission. And it had a cruising speed of warp 6 and a max of warp 8 for 2 hours.
The War Eagles, which were the warp-powered versions of this, had Type 2 RWC, were powered by 2 RWC Type 1 warp units and 6 RIB Type 1 nuclear fusion impulse drives.
And Stuart, what are they? I don't know.
They're simple impulse fusion style generators, if you must know.
Okay. God, we're very geeky in this show, aren't we?
That's the point.
And we've got some really interesting details. The expected hull life was around 30 years, with a mission length of around 2 years. Obviously not the one we saw in Balance of Terror, but for the average Bird of Prey. And it was about 8 years between refits. So quite a long life.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to some trivia now. As everybody knows, this was the first ship in Star Trek history with the cloaking ability.
And it cannot fire while cloaked, which sets up that canon precedent as well.
Yep.
Until one of the movies.
Well, the Klingons are the ones that fix that problem. But anyway, 2266 was its first test across the neutral zone.
It destroyed several outposts before being destroyed, fought and captured, attacked by the Enterprise. Classic.
And the Romulan strategy, this was interesting to find out. They would test on their enemies first to try to determine how best to defeat them. So they used stealth and managed to go unknown to their aggressors in most of their encounters.
And it says here, the loss of the prototype Warbird convinced the Romulans, who couldn't compete with the Federation militarily or technologically, that led to their treaty with the Klingons, which was obviously quite a big point of the original series. And that was in 2267, and that gave the sharing of cloaking technology by the Romulans to the Klingons for the D7s from the Klingons to the Romulans, which helped augment their fleet and disseminate cloaking technology. So why you might have thought cloaking first came or was throughout the universe, no, it was actually the Romulans who was the original creators of cloaking devices.
Yeah, and they did trade technology with the Klingons, like you said. So they got some D7s, and that became like the bulk of their fleet, as seen in the Enterprise incident. But also unknown by a lot of people, the Warbirds are capable of landing on a planet's surface.
Wow.
They have landing gear, so they're atmospheric ships as well.
It's cool. I mean, the original Enterprise could also land theoretically, couldn't it?
Just the saucer section.
Just the saucer section. Okay, so it beats out on that then.
Yeah.
And it also had two 3-person shuttlecrafts.
Yeah.
Although we never saw those in canon, I'd like to see what sort of ships they'd have. But,
And yeah, they have large birds of prey painted on the hull, which gives the appearance of swooping down upon their prey. So very intimidating looking ships.
yeah. Although if it's cloaked, it doesn't really matter. But
No, but it has to uncloak to fire.
it's
So you
true
see
that
the bird coming at you, right?
final attack, yeah. And the predecessor, like I mentioned earlier, we saw an Enterprise in Minefield, and that was a bigger vessel. That was more of a warship. That was 130 meters long. It was armed with powerful disruptors, which were estimated to be so powerful that if they actually were a one-to-one engagement with the NX-01, they could have ripped through the hull plating. So it would have been a very strong vessel if it actually fought. And we know they also had warp drive of at least warp 5, and I would love to have seen them in the Romulan Wars, but that's another story. So.
Mm. Okay, well, the thing I like most about this design, like I said, the ship looks amazing from underneath and above, and from the sides it looks all right. But the front and back are really unintimidating. They're very narrow, which actually might aid in the cloaking field ability.
Science.
Yes, science.
Yeah, I like the ship design too. I think it's very sleek. I think it really flows with the whole Romulan aesthetic. I know that obviously started the trend, but I think it really is neat when you compare it to other ships of the Romulan fleet throughout the Empire's existence.
Mm. The thing I like least about the ship, probably the fact that it can't fire while cloaked. I mean, if they could have got that development, that would have been a great tactical advantage.
I like its more aggressive feel. Most ships of the era, I mean, Klingons are a bit bulky and they look powerful, but the Romulans, they made the effort to put the bird on it. But the least thing I like was it wasn't warp capable. I know obviously they would have had other versions of the ship that did have warp, but in that day and age, you can't do anything without warp, really. I think, it makes it more of a weapons platform than a fully fledged starship. And I don't think in any large encounter, I mean, more than one ship would rip through the ship as soon as it decloaks. So I think it's, as a testing weapons platform, as a first strike, it's brilliant, but I think it has some serious limitations as a starship.
Yeah, well, like you just said, I think the one in Balance of Terror was just that. It was a test bed for the actual heavy plasma weapon that they had on there.
Yeah.
So it was very limited.
But it makes sense then, that's why they got the D7s, because they're a much more versatile and advanced, in some respects, weapons ship or attack ship. So I've got Evolutionary Ship Design, because we saw the original version of Enterprise and then in Balance of Terror. And I think, obviously, you've got to notice that TOS came first, and Enterprise was based off TOS. And as at the time, TOS was made to be simple, as obviously the ship you've got there. It looks relatively simple, it's sleek, it's simple. It's simple too many times. It's simple. And I think it works. That's what all TOS designs really were. They were much simpler, much more streamlined. And Enterprise was more of a warship. It was more angular. And I think the fact it's a small prototype, the one in Balance of Terror, really, I think it feels that actually. So I like the evolution and development.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see, I agree with everything you said there. And like we just discussed, the fact that it was just a simple ship and used as a test bed for the heavy plasma weapon was kind of a limitation on it. But, I mean, it was their introduction to it, right? So, and I know over the years there's been many variants of this design with the end of the nacelles like being either semicircle, more conical like these ones are, or even more complete globes. You see different versions, and usually the colors are different too. They're either green, blue, or of course red. So it's interesting that there might have been different variations as far as engine types go.
Yeah, and I know that John Evans, pronouncement words, he designed the Enterprise version. I know he wanted to pay homage to the TOS version. I mean, like I said, I think it feels very warlike. And I think with TOS being the exception, I think the design really flows throughout all the ships into the Nurixon from Nemesis. I think flows.
I think his name is Eves, just so we know. John Eves.
Thanks, Stuart.
I just don't want to insult anybody that might be watching.
Yeah. So that's all the information we have. I think it's a sleek craft. I think it was probably a big threat during TOS.
Yeah. Well, this ship is the bane of my existence as far as Starfleet battles go. My brother uses it all the time. He uses Romulan ships all the time, very effectively, I might add. It's a great stealth and strike weapon if used properly, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorite Star Trek ships. But like as a model builder, it's a great design. It's beautiful to look at, but displaying it is problematic because the best part of it is on the bottom.
It's true.
So to design a stand for it, the best thing to do is probably hang it.
I think I've actually seen a Christmas ornament version of it. Yeah.
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 Perfect for a Christmas ornament.
Yeah. So that is our main show. But now we'd like to do a fun part, which is we take the ship we've just looked at and the ship we're going to look at, and we put them together. Sometimes that's not overly fair, but we do it anyway. So, do you want to tell us what we're doing next week?
The next ship we're going to be doing is the Phoenix, Zephyr Cochrane's legendary warp ship, as seen in First Contact.
And, oh joyously, I have the Phoenix and you have the Bird of Prey. So, Stuart, how would the Bird of Prey win against the legendary Phoenix?
It would be close. I'm sure the Phoenix doesn't have advanced sensor systems, so it wouldn't even really detect it decloaking. And, of course, one plasma torpedo would be it, because the Phoenix has no weapons as far as being able to dissipate the energy of the ship, and I'm sure it couldn't outrun it for very long.
But
there's always a but.
The ship is very maneuverable. I have warp, you do not. I could avoid you by that.
True.
I could probably turn round somehow and ram you. I could blow up in front of you and damage you. I don't know.
Self-destruction is always a great way to damage ships.
Yeah, I mean, we have antimatter probably. I think it's more than a match for your ship.
Okay, well, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
I think it's safe to say you win that one, Stuart.
Of course, I'm the captain after all.
Next week I'll get you.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, well, that's it for this episode, guys. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. If you want to learn more or see more, visit the Trekyards Facebook page.
Yep.
Also visit our website at www.trekyards.com.
We have a website. So awesome.
And please like and subscribe to this channel because that really helps us out, and also it gives you a heads up regarding new episodes because they'll get emailed to you. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, this is Captain Foley.
Hold on, a big part of this show is user feedback. Obviously, we've got a very active Facebook already, but we want you to suggest chips for us that we can do in future episodes. We have a few planned, a few there, but we want a list. We want to know what you want to see, even if it's obscure, even if it means it's super difficult, but we want to do it, we want to make content for you. So let us know, put it in the Facebook, and then, yeah, we'll make a big list and we'll do them eventually.
The more difficult, the better, because we like a challenge. We got to find out information about these ships. Look at Samuel.
So excited.
Anyway, guys, this is Captain Foley and Samuel Calkins.
Yep.
Signing off for now. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.